Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine and I tell true stories. This is a unique one, the miracle of the transubstantiation. This is when the priest turns the host and the blood of Christ into the real body of God, of Jesus. The Catholic Church has Mass, and during Mass, the transubstantiation occurs. This is the consecration of the Eucharist, as in we believe that the real Jesus comes in. So during this time, when the priest during a Mass lifted the host and said, "This is my body," and then lifted the chalice and said, "This is my blood," it began to rain heavily. It rained heavily. Now you wonder why I'm saying this. Let's go to the story. It was in the year 2003. This was a missionary college, and as usual, the staff would be treated to a picnic to the place of their choice. And this time around, they chose a lake called Lake Naivasha in Kenya. Lake Naivasha is a very beautiful lake, and it has flamingos and very beautiful views, and it has very nice places that you can picnic actually. Although the staff hadn't done enough research about this place, they decided to choose the place to enjoy their day before they break for the Easter holiday. Of course, it was going to be followed by a staff party. So this is what happened. Since it's a missionary college, the staff, the priest, of course, was the director and the principal. They decided to hold the Mass while they reached at Lake Naivasha. And to hold the Mass, they needed a place where they can put an altar. And the only place that they found when they drove into the game park, a few kilometers into the game park, was a shelter, a big shelter. It was like a hall, and it had a thatched roof on it, but it was cemented like can I say a cage, a wall around it, and then it had a roof that was thatched. This is where they decided to have their Mass. Although there was a bit of cow dung, so they thought around the hall, they chose a cleaner place to lay their altar. And they kept their picnic stuff there so that after the Mass, they will go out and enjoy themselves at the lakeside. Well, the Mass began, and as the Mass was going on, they could see some buffaloes, and they were so surprised. They didn't know that there are buffaloes around here. There are buffaloes around the lake. Well, what they expected was to see maybe hippos, but because there was some water, but a buffalo is a bit strange. And so those people in red, wearing red, were a bit scared. So they began like covering themselves behind other people who were not wearing red, because it's believed that if you're wearing red, red just annoys the buffaloes. And they didn't want to annoy these animals that seemed to be watching them from a distance of about 50 meters. They were watching them, and they seemed to be moving closer. You know, buffaloes are not things to play around with. They can lift you if they're annoyed. But the Mass was going on, and it was like these buffaloes were weighing, because I think they were a bit scared. Like there seemed to be a crowd there, so they were not sure what was going on. And then a thought strikes somebody, like, what if this is their shelter? Because there is some dung here, and it doesn't look like cow dung anyway. But anyway, buffalo's dung and cow dung almost look the same. So they were not sure. And as the buffaloes were moving closer and closer, it was like they were now getting many, and they were getting momentum to come closer. You know, animals sense. I don't know what they sense. But I think they had sensed that it was going to rain. And since the staff was in their shelter, they were waiting for them to leave. But since they were not moving and these buffaloes had sensed it's going to rain, they began moving closer and closer. And it wasn't long before the consecration of the Eucharist part reached. You know that part of this is my body, when the priest lifts up the host and says, this is my body. And then when he lifts up the chalice and says, this is my blood, it began to rain heavily. It began to rain heavily. And the buffalo stopped. They stopped in their track. I don't know why, but if you know, put in the comments, why do cows and buffaloes always stop when it's raining? You know, they don't move. I don't know whether they're stuck in the mud or it's just some, I don't know, shock or what. They just stand there and they're being rained on. So they couldn't come any farther because it was raining. Well, that gave the people wearing red some sigh of relief, because the buffaloes had stopped moving, but they were scared. What will happen when it stops raining? Because now they were very sure they were in a buffalo's shed. But when it stopped raining, they saw a car, a Land Rover drive over, and 3 men in some soldier-looking uniform, you know, green outfit, step out with cocked machine guns. And they were like, oh my God, now it seems like the buffaloes are better. Were they bandits? You know, in Kenya, you can get bandits anywhere. You don't know where. In a game park, you know, you're alone. They didn't know it's a game park, actually. They didn't know that Lake Naivasha has a park, an animal reserve as well. They just knew it's a lake. I think that is the day that they knew. So these people were moving closer and closer with the guns cocked, the machine guns cocked. And when they arrived into the shelter, they asked for the leader. And of course, the principal came ahead. He's a priest who was leading the mass and had finished the mass. He said, I'm in charge. And they asked, what the hell are you doing here? Who told you that this is the place you can come? And I don't know what you're doing there. What are you doing here? You know, they panicked. The staff was panicking now. And they were told that, you know, you guys are very lucky, because if it wasn't for the rain, you will be mauled. You'll be mauled by the leopards, because you are right under the sunbathing roof, and you are right in the buffalo's house. That is why they were standing outside there. When they saw us, they left. Then they remembered actually the buffalo suddenly dispersed, and then these people appeared. It's because they were in the buffalo's shed, and on this buffalo's shed, the leopards could come and, you know, sunbathe. But because it was raining, there was no way the leopards were going to lie on the thatched roof. And when it's raining, the buffaloes and cows, whatever animals they are, normally just freeze. They don't move. And this is what happened. This is what saved them from this disaster of being attacked by leopards and at the same time buffaloes. So if you think it was the miracle of the Eucharist, you can put in the comments. Or maybe it was just a coincidence that it began raining the moment the host was lifted. You can as well put in the comment. So if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Ciao.